Hi, and welcome to Journey Forward with Jory Rose, where you will gain insights, tools, and inspiration to get unstuck and live your best life. Jory is a licensed marriage and family therapist with a passion for helping people cultivate awareness and authenticity so they can show up fully in all aspects of their life. And now, here's Jory.
Hey everyone, I really hope you enjoy this episode with Jaime Bronstein, and I wanted to share that she and I are actually both part of a summit that you can register for free titled You Deserve More. Stop attracting losers, loners, and liars and get the relationship you were made for. So this episode is all about love, and this summit that we are both a part of, hosted by Barbara Stanton, is helping you find the love that you're craving. So if this is inspiring to you, check out the link in the show notes. And I would love to hear some feedback on this episode with Jaime. Give us a rating, a review, a share, because we know that the more we can get the word out and how to journey forward to live your best life, the more people we can support. All right, everyone, enjoy today's show. Hey everyone, and welcome back to Journey Forward with Jory Rose. I am so happy to have Jaime Bronstein here today. We have been connected for some time and have been on a previous summit before and have been connected on social media, and I was on her radio show, and I am so happy to finally have a conversation with you today. Jaime, thank you so much for being here. Please introduce yourself to the listeners and tell us, how did you get to where you are? Tell us a little about your journey.
Sure. Well, first of all, thank you so much for having me on your podcast today. I really appreciate it. I love inspiring people. So I'm an LCSW, a psychotherapist, relationship expert, author, and I'm the host of Love Talk Live on LA Talk Radio, which you were on. I always say that my journey started when I popped out because my name in French means I love. So J'aime, j'aime means I love. Kind of started there. And then I was very inspired by my parents who have been married for over 50 years now. Growing up, I felt, and now I still feel so grateful to have them as a model, to know that true love exists. And so it really informed my experiences, my love of love. And then from the moment I took my first psychology class in high school, I couldn't even sleep at night. I was so excited because I finally started feeling like I understood life and why people do what they do and why they operate the way that they do. So anyhow, fast forward to getting my master's degree. I got my undergraduate degree in psychology, master's degree in social work, and then eventually studied spiritual psychology and branded myself as a relationship therapist expert, because I found that the clients that came in that were either single or were in a couple and wanted to work on it or going through a breakup or divorce were really the ones that I resonated the most with and just felt so much passion about wanting to help them. So
if you guys could see her face right now as she talks about this, like her passion just exudes. You can tell this is really something that you love to do. Yeah. And I have a bit of a similar piece to that of being fascinated from a really young age of why do some relationships work and why do some not? And I was dating my ex-husband since I was 13 years old. And for a long time, we really, really worked. And I was fascinated because I didn't have the role models that you had. And it's amazing to see your parents who've been married for over 50 years and to see that true love does exist. And I believe that my daughters have that role model in me and John now. So I'm so grateful they get to see that. And relationships are fascinating. It is so multi-layered. So let's just delve in, because I think no matter what relationship status you are, love is the most integral thing in our lives. And really, relationships are all kind, not just romantic, right? I mean, I know so much in the work that I do, it's, romantic love is what people come in for, but it affects all kinds of love: parental, friendship, companionate, their own parents, right? So what is it about love that you love?
Well, I would say that it's a very bold statement, but love is why we live.
Mm-hmm.
It's our motivation for everything. It's the underlying factor for everything in our lives. And to me, it's a thing that makes us feel the best. Mm-hmm. I've never really thought about that, but that just came up in the moment. It is the feeling, it is the best feeling in the world. And when you fall in love and it's real and it's authentic, there's just no other experience like that. And it makes you feel alive. And so if our goal in life is to feel as alive as possible, then it's that love that fuels that aliveness. So I'm getting emotional because I mean, it's, there's just, and also when we are feeling love and when we are feeling alive, we operate better in this world. There's no anxiety or depression. We are successful. It affects all aspects of our life, which is what you said at the beginning of this question. And it is extremely true. You could be the most successful financially person in the world, but if you don't have love in your life and a meaningful relationship, romantic relationship, and meaningful relationships in your life, then what is the point? When life is short, when you are,
what's it all for?
When you are laying on your deathbed and you're about to die, the goal is that you want to feel so fulfilled. You want to feel full of love and that you've experienced that deep love and that inspirational love. And because of that, you've really lived your best life.
It's such a high intention to reach. And yet I know many people struggle in getting there. And I'm sure there's even some people listening now who are already like, great for you, Jaime and Jory. That's great. You guys found that. I've never found it. That's never going to be me. And have had experience after experience in which love has not made them feel fulfilled and has contributed to their depression and anxiety and not helped decrease it. And we know that there are layers and layers that go into healthy relationships. So let's just start at the bottom. What would you say? Let's start with the positive first, because I think there's a lot of different ways we can go in this conversation. Assuming someone who doesn't have a lot of trauma and isn't starting off in a mindset in which they don't feel that they are worthy of receiving love, right? Because that's going to be a different question.
Yes.
What would you say for someone who is really seeking their ideal partner and continues to have series of relationships that aren't fulfilling, that don't work out, that don't meet their needs, that perhaps don't meet their expectations, that always let them down? I'm curious your thoughts on this. I have some as well, but let's hear from you first, and then we can dialogue about that. Okay.
So what's interesting is that one of the things you just said was we're talking about somebody who doesn't have major trauma or who doesn't have anything, in quotes, horrible that happened in their life. However, the person the client, let's say you just described, who's had, in quotes, not a horrible life, but, maybe not easy, not hard, but just middle of the road. What I'm hearing, and in my book called Manifesting, that will be published in January, but anyhow, what I'm hearing, because I've identified some dating personas, is a little bit of the repeater, somebody who keeps on dating. We'll just say keeps on dating the same guy. My book is mainly for women who want to manifest a man, or anybody who wants to manifest a man. But anyhow, let's just talk about, because this is very common with women, someone who just keeps on dating the same guy over and over. And the reason is because they have unresolved issues that they have not resolved yet. They have negative narratives running through their mind that they haven't shifted yet into positive narratives / the truth. Because negative narratives come from our ego, and our ego, which is our mind, just spews out lies and and fear-based thoughts. So with those clients, I would start with shifting the negative narratives. I'm not worthy of love. I'm not deserving of love or I can't trust. There's something about trusting themselves and trusting others. So whatever their negative narrative is, I would start there.
I love that. And I just want to say, I see a lot of people, part of what adds to that negative narrative is really high, perhaps unrealistic expectations of perfection.
Yes. And
I don't know if that's going to fit into another persona, but like that just seems to be one of the biggest roadblocks is the 10 must-haves that are non-negotiable. Like 10 non-negotiables might be a bit much.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, I always say ideally 3, but 3 to 5 can work. You are a smart lady because another dating persona is the fault finder.
Okay.
So there you have it. So yes. And the fault finder, all of the dating personas are very fear-based. So fault finder is, I'm just going to find any faults in this guy because it keeps me safe. I don't have to actually get into a relationship. I don't have to worry about being rejected because I'm just going to find something that's in quotes wrong with him. But something that's really interesting about when you were just talking that came to me that I actually never thought about, which is surprising because it's about projections. I think about projections a lot, is if you are looking for perfection, it's actually a projection of you yourself trying to be perfect, and no one's perfect. And so like letting go of the reins a little bit, easing up on yourself and these expectations of yourself and just allowing yourself to be human, then you can allow this person to be human and mess up and be messy. And I think that's where the fun comes in, when you can just relax.
Yeah. I love that you named that, because John and I actually recorded a joint episode for both of our podcasts that came out back in May. And it was about the necessities for us to do our own individual work, and how unless you don't do your own work, it's likely going to show up in some way in the relationship, right? And he and I both have acknowledged to each other, I don't think we would have been good partners 10 years ago. Like before we had done our work, I actually don't think we would have been a very successful match whatsoever. And part of what attracts me to him is his ability to do his work and to see it in practice. Does that mean it's always perfect? No, we are not perfect. I am not perfect either. Perfect is just something we need to like throw out the window and never think about again, right? Because it gets us stuck. And what you named there about the projection of our own perfection, if we can recognize we're seeking it so much in someone else, what are we looking at within ourselves? Likely not very much if we're so outward focused. And so that ability to really, with a lot of self-compassion, say, okay, well, what is this bringing up for me right now? And what is the pattern and how I'm showing up in this dynamic? Because otherwise that external focus of attention will get you every single time, because nobody can live up to that expectation you have in your mind. And to me, there's nothing more attractive than seeing someone's humanness.
Yes.
Like that, like, don't show me all your perfect qualities. Show me what it looks like when it's real, right? I want to see how we can manage when life is not easy. I mean, you know, there's a lot of people who I know we're taking some tangents, but we'll come back. But, you know, people who like during the pandemic or like, oh, I couldn't live with this person. Well, you know, that's actually really great information to have, because life is really hard. So if you couldn't live together during this point in time, you likely couldn't have gotten through, you know, raising kids together or going through financial struggles or having family members who are sick and elderly and dying. Like everything's an opportunity to have insight into how would we get through this?
Oh my God, so many things are coming up.
I know.
Okay.
For me too.
So, one thing the most recent thought that I just had. What is one of the things that I encourage my clients who are at that point where they're not married yet, I encourage them to have the real conversations about everything. What are our views on religion, on finances, on politics, on children, on health, getting sick, or just even lifestyle, the foods that we eat, or working out, not working out, just where you just cover everything, not all at once. It would be a little too overwhelming. Okay.
And but probably not on a first or second date either.
No, this is like questions that for yourself, because you value yourself and you value your life. And of course there is divorce. There's a lot of divorce in this world. However, I believe that one of the ways to avoid having to go through a divorce is to really see, are we truly compatible? Are we truly aligned? Are we really, in quotes, I'll say it, soulmates? Are we supposed to be together? Because when you have that deep connection, you really can get through everything. Here's the thing. Any couple can get through anything. It's the willingness. You need to figure out.
Want to?
Yes. And by having these hard conversations before you get married, you'll have more clarity. Okay. It's not a guarantee that you'll stay married, but you'll be better informed to really make that wise decision, from the wise one within. Does this really feel right?
Yeah.
I can't tell you. I mean, actually, so just at a conference, I was at a conference that you were at a few years ago. I just went 2 weeks ago, and it just made me sad. I was at lunch, they encourage you have lunch with people you don't normally sit with. So at lunch with 2 other attendees, and they both are divorced, but then they both have met new guys that they're married to that are really their soulmates. And they both said they knew walking down the aisle that I don't know if they knew they were going to get divorced, but I think they knew that they were going to get divorced. And
they knew something wasn't right.
Yeah. I have a personal friend from college who said the same thing to me. And so I've heard this a lot. And then also some clients. So I get so passionate and I do what I do. I'm writing my book called Manifesting. There's such passion and heart in it because I want to help people really. I want to help these women really, really bring in that right man for them, not just any man, but the right man for them.
The right man. And I can attest, that I didn't have a bad marriage at all. I mean, I was married to a great guy, but at 13 years old, I didn't really know what I didn't know and who I was, and go figure that by the time I was in my mid 30s, I was a different person. Not a different person. I grew, right? And I uncovered who I was underneath all the fear and anxiety that I was shrouded in for a long time. And fear is a great motivator to not make change. And when we're stuck in that fear mindset or belief system or habit or pattern, it's really easy to stay safe by not making change. And I had to make a huge mindset shift that on the other side of fear was possibility. And
abundance.
And abundance. And I had to trust, because that's, I think, what prevents people from both getting out of relationships that they're not supposed to be in, and even kind of delving into relationships, because it's still scary to reveal yourself fully. And it takes a great amount of courage to be vulnerable. I mean, Brene Brown says, one of my favorite quotes in her called A Courage Netflix special. She says, we all want to be loved, but we're afraid to be seen. Mm-hmm. And I just love that, because it's really scary to be vulnerable because there's a fear of rejection. What if I reveal myself and I'm no longer appreciated or valued or loved or respected? And what if I, lose this person because my true self came out? Well, you know what? I'd rather that come out really early on.
Yeah. So I always say to not have an attachment to the outcome. Yes, and that's basically, okay. So we say the same thing.
Yes.
And that's what it's all about. It's using your voice, showing up as your authentic self, no matter what. because that's staying in your integrity. And I think you were saying before, wouldn't you rather find this out now rather than be showing up not as yourself, but then you get married and then it's just not right. So get it out of the way, show up as yourself. It's so freeing.
It's so freeing. When I first started dating John, I told myself, I am going to play this game. And I had to look at it as a game so I could have non-attachment to the outcome. Otherwise, it felt really scary and vulnerable. So it wasn't like a dating game in terms of like, kind of a mind fuck sort of thing. It was more of like, I had to look at it in a lighthearted way. Mm-hmm. And I said, I'm going to play this game of let's just see what happens when I actually say what I feel. Let's just see what happens when I show up like really authentically right from the get-go. And I said two things to him that I was not willing to negotiate on. I said, I've done a lot of work on myself since my divorce, and I'm afraid of losing myself in relationship again. So let me just put that out there now. So when I draw boundaries later, I can say, well, I warned you, you went into this knowing that I am not willing to compromise on who I am anymore. And I also shared with him what my divorce looked like. And my ex and I, we've done a lot as a family together. We've traveled post-divorce with our kids, even internationally, even as recent as 3 years ago without John. Like we've done a lot post-divorce, and he's my childhood. He's my, it's hard to separate out who I am separate than him. So even still, I'm untangling that knot. But I knew I couldn't be with a partner who didn't respect what my divorce looked like or felt threatened by that. Mm-hmm. And I also made it very clear that my kids are number one. And so I share this for the listeners to look for the things in themselves to say, what are you not willing to compromise? Because I think this is one of the biggest challenges is people try to show up as like the best version, I'm putting air quotes, like the best version of themselves, but it's not the real version or the everyday version or the like your shit still stinks version kind of thing around we're all human. And can we just express that humanness from the get-go so we can operate from a place that's like real?
I love what you're saying. It's getting past the moving out of your comfort zone.
Yes.
Asking for what you need and also saying what you need.
Yeah.
And I mean, I went through the same thing-ish kind of with my husband where it was really this, I mean, I had a few boyfriends before my husband, and then it was in this relationship where for really the first time, I started really using my voice and started really honoring it and saying what I need, saying how I feel. And it's so empowering. Mm-hmm. And so, I know we're contemporaries, we're around the same age.
Yeah.
And so another reason why I love to inspire these younger girls, because there are things it sounds like you learned when you got a little bit older. I learned when I got a little bit older, but I'm so impressed by some of these younger people these days because they are learning these tactics, or not tactic, these
tools, awarenesses.
Yes. And they are practicing them earlier on in life. And it's so, it's just, you feel more powerful. You feel more in your body, in your stand up straighter. This is who I am.
In your essence.
Yes. In your essence, in your energy, in your everything. So yes.
Jamie, I think you and I could talk forever, but I want to come back to the dating personas because I love them. So I apologize for detouring, but I don't apologize because we've said so much juicy stuff. But I'm going to come back to it because I think these are really helpful. And I already can see myself using this language when your book comes out to help support you, but also I think it's really good framework. So the dating personas we've talked about so far are the repeater and the fault finder. What are some of the other dating personas you have found that you really notice in your work and are obviously going to have in your book?
So there's the chameleon, and we've kind of talked about this, right? This is somebody who changes themselves for each man that they meet. I tell a story in my book about how I got certified to go scuba diving.
Do you like scuba diving?
No, I never had any desire. Okay. But I had this this misbelief that if I didn't do it, not that we would break up or anything, but it allowed me to like spend more time with him. It was ridiculous. So the chameleon is and I remember I started wearing more, this is so random. Not Izod, not Polo, but just like a very preppy brand.
Oh yeah. I can picture it. It'll come to me in a minute. Yep.
Yeah. So anyhow, I just started wearing more of this particular, little bit more preppy than I normally dress clothing. So yeah, the chameleon, that is somebody who just changes themselves.
Which again, if you are not authentic from the get-go, it's really hard to go back on that.
Yes, exactly. And that, you keep getting like deeper and deeper and deeper, basically, the more that you aren't yourself.
I talk with clients and I do a lot of work with clients who are dating post-divorce. And I am always encouraging, of course, have your boundaries. There's a difference between being fully authentic and being transparent, right? I don't think we need to like share every single thing that we don't need full transparency, but I do believe authenticity is a practice. And wouldn't you rather reveal these things about who you truly are early on? It's kind of like that line in When Harry Met Sally as to why he won't take someone to the airport early on in dating. Do you remember this?
Yes.
Because then he's like, I never want someone to say you don't take me to the airport anymore. Right. But like you had to pretend you like scuba diving because the fear is, what if I don't, this person might not want to be with me. But then one day, how the relationship stuck around, you'd have to say, I don't really want to scuba dive anymore. And then it's an interesting shift of, well, then how come you started doing that with me? But we're fear-based, which is what you said. These dating personas are fear-based.
I mean, this book is obviously girls are still going to make mistakes because we have to make mistakes in life to learn. But it's like, this book is, okay, learn from my mistakes.
Yes.
learn. This is what I experienced and this is what you can avoid. But of course, people, you still, like I said, nobody's perfect. And we've been talking about that's right. Nobody, there's no perfection. But yeah, living like that, where you're not living from your authentic self, it doesn't feel good. But the weird thing is that I didn't know that at that time. It felt great because I was in a relationship with this guy or that guy, and luckily, I feel like I was only the chameleon once. So it was just for whatever reason that
you weren't a repeater with the chameleon. Combined personas.
But this is what I was about to say, which is something that is important for people to know about my book, about the dating personas. We all are different dating personas at different times. So it's not the type of book where like, oh, I've identified myself as this one. I don't need to read the other chapters. It's all cumulative. Each dating persona goes with a different teaching point. Like I talk about the Mr. Unavailable magnet. Is that another persona that you identify? That is another dating persona, the Mr. Unavailable magnet, which I was at one point also. I talk about the control freak, and we were talking about that before, and that's all about letting go of laser focus. It's a whole other chapter. I don't want to give too much away.
No.
But anyhow, there's the self-negator that's instead of saying like, what's wrong with the guy, this is what's wrong with me. So there are so many. And then the settler, that's another one, which everybody's been there. So I do a deep dive into all these different dating personas, and I give stories from my clients. Don't say their names.
Of course.
I change the names. I give stories from my life. And I also give spiritual teachings of the steps to manifesting love, like trust. So
let's just delve in. Okay. So how do you manifest?
So this is not necessarily in order, but it kind of is. We'll just start with it starts with self-love. You have to learn how to love yourself, show up authentically, which we've been talking about. You need to get very clear on who you are and what you're looking for, and you do this in a positive way, not what you're not looking for, but what you are looking for, you need to learn how to strengthen your intuition, which is my favorite topic. There's a whole chapter on that. There is visualizing it actually happening. And there's all these exercises, et cetera, for that. And there is believing it's going to happen. You have to believe it's going to happen. You have to see it's going to happen in order for it to happen. And I teach you how to do that. And there's a lot of trusting in yourself and trusting in the universe. And there's just so much more. When we were talking before this started, you were talking about how you've written some books already. There's another book that you will be creating. And what I'm telling all of you guys, listeners, what Jory did was you literally did what I have done in the past before I've written my book. This is what you did. You said, I want to take what's in here, and I'm pointing to my head, and what's here, my heart. And you said something else, but I would say, and put it on paper. Or you said, put it into the world. Yeah. That's how I was out there. Yeah. That's how I've always felt about my message, that there's so much in my head and my heart, like my knowledge and wisdom, but also my heart and my knowing and my own intuition, my own experiences and my own higher self, et cetera, forming me of everything that I want to teach, that I am teaching. So it feels really good.
You are teaching. I love that. And I may have shared this with you before, but I completely manifested John. And we used to joke that, like, when we first started dating, like, you know, after 2 years or so, we've been together 6.5 years and engaged for about 2.5 years. We used to joke, you know, that, oh, he's only like 2 years old because he didn't exist before I manifested him.
It's so cute.
But, you know, so for those listeners out there who are like, okay, this is, you know, kind of woo-woo. It is. And there's also the brain science that backs up the power of manifestation, or the power of intention setting and setting very clear visions in your mind. And I once read a study that was interviewing highly successful people, and to say, like, what was different about those who are highly successful versus those who did not show the same level of success. And one of the things that they had found amongst those highly successful people was they had really, really clear vision and intention setting. And the brain actually wants to support you in this. So, like, for all you guys listening, just know that your brain is actually designed to help shift or sift out the information that's not necessary, and to bring to the forefront of your mind what you're most seeking. And it's the reticular activation system, if you guys want to know the name. But it's the part of your brain that, like, helps you take what's amongst the noise and bring it into your own awareness. And if you don't know what that clarity is, the brain doesn't know how to help bring it into your forefront of your mind. And it's pretty remarkable. Like, anyone who, you know, has been pregnant, all of a sudden you see everyone is pregnant. Or if you're going to go buy a new car, all of a sudden you see that car everywhere on the road. Or when I was going to Thailand a couple of years ago, all of a sudden, like, everyone I knew went to Thailand. I mean, that's not just coincidence. It's actually the reticular activation system perking my own awareness for the things that I am bringing into my life. And so it's hard to know what you're looking for if you don't know. It's hard to know what you're going to find when you don't know what you're looking for.
Absolutely. Yes. And I love that you're bringing up woo-woo, because this is so beyond real. Manifesting is so beyond real. And getting back to the brain now, when we visualize, so part of visualization is you're imagining, you're seeing it, you're feeling as you're living as if it's already happening. Now, the brain doesn't know the difference between it's actually happening or it's not. That's why it's not healthy to live in the past, because it's as if you're just repeating versus being present, which is healthy. And then also visualizing and having that clear vision of what is to come, because then that helps the brain and you are co-creating with the universe, helps you bring in that which you desire and you visualize to come in.
Okay. So here's the $1 million question. Are you ready?
Yes.
How do you have really clear vision of what you're wanting to attract and seek and manifest, while simultaneously not having attachment to the outcome.
Very easily. Very easily. Because it's also about surrendering. I haven't brought up surrendering yet, but that literally is what surrendering is. It's saying, universe, this is what I would like. This is what I want. However, I trust that you will provide me with what I need. I trust you. Because so many times, not so many times, every time in life, God, universe, whatever you want to call it, knows better than we do. We think we do. We think we know better. So it's that trusting in a higher power, that trusting that we are being held and taken care of no matter what. Rejection is protection. However, I can go on and on. That everything happens in life is for us. It happens for us, not to us. It's an opportunity.
And it's a mindset to be able to see it as such, right? It's an opportunity to say, I have a choice in how I want to relate to this. But so many people get so stuck on the exact vision and that being the only thing.
Yes. And that's my chapter 4, which is about letting go of laser focus. And, instead of saying it has to be George, it has to be George. It's George or no one, Universe doesn't love that. There's no way it's going to be George if that's your mindset. And in my book, I say you need to say it can be A, B, or Z, just being open and trusting that whatever is meant for you will be meant for you. And I love whatever is for you will never pass you by.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. I like this idea of the quote of like this or better.
This is something better for the highest good of all concerned. You can have
Yes. And I just had to practice this. I'm leading a women's retreat in the fall, and I had a location all picked out, and I was so excited, and I had gotten my sales page all done and spent all this time on it. And last minute, the property fell through. And I was so bummed for like a half a second, because it was like, okay, this just opened up something better, and that's going to be great. And so when we can have that level of non-attachment, it's easy to see, okay, what else does the universe have in store for you? But to your point, it takes a good amount of spiritual acceptance or a connection to higher power, God, universe, whatever you call it. But without that clarity, right, it's really hard. I mean, when I manifested John, I was laser clear on what I would not settle for.
Right.
But I also realized, like, when I did that, it wasn't just about him as a person or what a partner was. It was in context of my whole life, that I wanted something additive, that I had very, as a single mom post-divorce with the majority of the custody of my girls, like I had very limited time to give. So I had to have someone who understood that, didn't require, or like, I say require, like didn't have expectations of different than that. Right. But this was in context of my life. And I think when we can put this manifestation intention into the context of what we already have, because I wrote down what I'm already grateful for, what I'm already full, where am I complete and whole, versus thinking that whole, you complete me idea, which I think, really made a lot of people suffer in relationship, because if you don't come to relationship whole, then there's too much expectation for the other person to heal you.
Oh my God. Yeah. We heal ourselves, and it's not an easy road. It's a bumpy road, but it's a road that is the best gift that you can give to yourself.
It really is. Oh my gosh, Jaime, you and I could talk for hours.
Oh, absolutely. Yes.
We have so many things that I know that we share so much passion around. And I am so excited for this book to come out. I'm so excited that we finally had this conversation. And perhaps in a few months, when the book is actually released, we'll have to have a follow-up conversation to really help get the word out even more. So if you could just finish up with one thing, if someone took away only one thing from our conversation today, what would you want for someone to hear?
The most important aspect of your love life and your life is to trust yourself. Trust yourself always listen to that voice inside. Listen to your heart, listen to your soul. You are the expert of you. And when you make decisions from that place, you'll never make a bad decision again, and you'll never have one regret ever again. It's about being in your integrity. So
I love that so much.
That's my biggest, strongest nugget of advice.
I love it. Well, Jaime, thank you so much. I know it's in my own knowing that your book is going to be a phenomenal hit, because people want love, and they want the right love. They don't want just settling love. And
so much. And also I have a free gift that has to do with manifesting love. And if you want to include it in,
it will be in the show notes. So tell us a little bit about the gift.
It's really straightforward. It is 7 days of manifesting love. You will get an email from me. So you can just reply to me if you have any questions about it. 7 days of manifesting love. Each day you'll get an affirmation and an exercise. So sign up for the free gift. And you can always, in general, find all about me at therelationshipexpert.com, and all my socials are on there, etc.
Perfect. Well, all those links will be in the show notes. And Jaime, I wish you well.
I wish you well too. So great.
It was really great connecting. Thank you so much. And I hope all you listeners out there really got a lot out of this conversation. I know I did. These kind of conversations just fill me up, and I just get so energized, and I just, there's just so much love to go around. There really is. And there is, the quote that changed my life is a quote by Rumi that says, "What you seek is seeking you." Somebody is out there looking for exactly who you are. And that's what I put at the top of the letter that I titled Dear Future Partner, because believing that someone is out there looking for, like, you are literally what someone else's manifestation list is all about. So
yes. And he's orbiting around you. You just got to get past anything that's in the way, which is everything we talked about.
Yes.
Yes, I love that. And we are at the end, and there is so much more to say.
I know there's so much more.
There is somebody for everybody. So just know that no one is, there are no exceptions. There's someone for everyone. So don't give up.
Yes. All right. Well, everyone, take care and be well.
To continue your journey forward, find Jory Rose on Facebook and Instagram to become part of her growing community. You can also gain access to her meditations, books, online classes, or to sign up for an upcoming retreat. Visit her at joryrose.com. That's JOREEROSE.com.